Hey guys, welcome to Out of Ink. I'm Olivia the Archivist, and I want to talk about more video games. Today I'm going to talk about Spider-Man Miles Morales. If you missed it, I did make a video on the 2018 Spider-Man game, so if you're interested, that's on the channel as well. Anyway, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I love Miles. He's my favorite Spider-Man. I first started reading his original run of Ultimate Comics, and I've always tried to keep up with him since, and I was pretty excited that he was getting his own game from Insomniac. So what's his game about? At the end of the PS4 Spider-Man, we see Miles confide in Peter about his spider powers. About a year after the events of the first game, a lot has gone on in Miles' life. He's been training with Peter as Spider-Man, he and his mother Rio moved to Harlem, and his mom is running for office. I'm so happy to see Miles and Rio flourishing. I feel that comics have a nasty way of forgetting that negative experiences don't have to define your life. This is something the stories of both games do very well. Anyway, after defeating the Rhino and a prison transfer gone wrong, Peter leaves Miles in charge of protecting New York while he's out of town, along with giving Miles his first official suit. It doesn't take long for things to heat up as Miles ends up tripping over a conspiracy involving the infamous Roxon Corporation and a new high-tech gang called the Underground led by the Tinkerer. As a continuation, this game shares most of its gameplay with the original. However, Insomniac respected Miles as his own Spider-Man. Miles' side quests feel his own even though they are similar to Peter's. The animations were changed to fit more with Miles' character and his inexperience as Spider-Man. His web-slinging and combat is very different. His gameplay is also slightly different since Miles has a unique set of abilities. You can camouflage for a limited time and use Venom Strikes, which you unlock as the game goes on and as Miles figures himself out. In the game, Miles' best friend Ganke invents the Friendly Neighborhood app, an app that allows people to contact Spider-Man to report crimes or ask for help, which is a cute way to put in side quests. I actually love this because it has you helping the people of your community, giving Miles more of the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man feel. I think this is a really important part of this game. Spider-Man was one of the original ground level heroes. I think within the last couple decades we've taken a lot of the friendly neighborhood aspect out of Spider-Man, where Peter Parker feels more like a superhero-y superhero. Like he's an Avenger who's fought cosmic level threats, his villains have now escalated to being everyone's problem when they're up to something big, and his stuff is just so much bigger than just protecting his city, even if that city is as big as New York. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but as time has gone on, he's just more of a universally accessible Spider-Man now. Miles is still a young character, both in canon and our reality. It's nice to see him grounding himself and helping his community, even if he does have bigger adventures sometimes. And it's always nice to see any Spider-Man return to the friendly neighborhood side of things. But I digress. As far as most of the story goes, it's pretty solid. Miles taking responsibility for the city is really nice, as it's a good way to get you to explore the game and get that friendly neighborhood vibe down. This game, like its predecessor, does a great job at portraying its characters. Miles is wonderful, and his supporting cast is just as good as Peter's. The highlights are definitely Ganke, Miles' uncle Aaron, and Finn. Ganke is Miles' best friend, and they are great, both in the comics and in this game. Their chemistry makes them an undeniable duo, which I think is summed up in the scene where they build Miles' own suit for him. Then there's Aaron, who is still the Prowler in this universe, but he's trying to do better. Miles and Aaron have this great relationship where Aaron is trying to look out for Miles in his own way, and Miles has to learn why his dad distanced himself from Aaron, and it's all done through this series of missions and side missions that are very interesting and help Miles come into his own. Then there's Finn. Finn is Miles' childhood best friend he reconnects with, and their sibling-like relationship is written very well. There is a caveat to this, however, but we'll get into that in a second. The weakest part of this game is the antagonists. While I have no real problem with the Underground, I'm not a fan of the Tinkerer or Roxon. The Tinkerer is one I feel like got it worse. Although being one of Spider-Man's rogues and even showing up early on in Miles' original run, the Tinkerer gets a generic modern tech villain makeover, including the bland, faceless mask that we've seen so many times before, such as with Ghost from the movie Ant-Man and the Wasp. A spoiler alert for anyone who might want to play this game, but the Tinkerer in this universe is Finn. Finn's identity is not the problem. Honestly, we've seen this time and time again in superhero narratives, and it can be done well. Hell, it was even done well in the first game. The problem is, toward the end of Finn's arc, her writing feels wishy-washy. Finn wants to destroy Roxon and expose them for making unsafe energy because her brother died trying to stop them. So far so good. However, her blatant disregard for all the damage she's planning on causing and then not taking Miles' help when he offers feels unreasonably shitty for how sympathetic the game wants her to be, especially when Miles is going through his own journey of grief. Her mistrust in Miles toward the end feels half-baked to me, and her ending feels unjustified and unfair to both her as a character and to the impact she may have on Miles. I'm definitely going to have to see if Finn's fate will be followed up on in the sequel, and if there will be any lasting consequences for Miles before I really commit to this. As for Roxon, they are just an antagonistic rehash of Sable's forces without the backup of a government. Roxon is blatantly not okay. I don't know about you guys, but if I saw Amazon soldiers out there in orange body armor, you bet I'd be more than worried. I'd be living in absolute fear. Comparatively, the boss of Roxon, Simon Krieger, is despicable when he's on screen, which makes sense. I know the highly unethical, evil corporate CEO has been done a lot in superhero media, but I think he's kind of fun, and I wouldn't have minded him showing up a little bit more in this game. However, since you deal mostly with Roxon grunts, it just leaves a bland impression of the whole group, even though their goals of gentrification and corporate greed are genuinely evil. However, this doesn't really take away from how good this game is. Like its predecessor, Miles' game has its share of references. Most of these are done through the costumes. Miles' first suit from Peter is a reference to his very first suit in his original run, and you get a few other cool suits, like his look from the Spider-Verse movies, his classic suit, Miles' 2099 run, and a few others. Miles is such a new character, so it's not as reference-heavy. It doesn't help that on top of that, he's new to the 616 universe specifically. Since he was integrated into the mainstream universe with Peter Parker, a lot of the things that could have been referenced were left behind. Overall though, I love this game. Despite the small faults in the story, this game is outstanding. It has the same level of fun and quality as Spider-Man PS4, all while respecting Miles as his own Spider-Man, and I can't give enough praise for that. Before Spider-Man 2 comes out, you owe it to yourself to check this game out before you move on. On that note, what did you think of Spider-Man Miles Morales? And what are you hoping to see in the next game? Me? I'm excited to get both Peter and Miles' playable options. I'm also beyond geeked to see Venom. Thanks for listening, guys, and I'll see you guys next time, here on Out of Ink.